It's time for some acknowledgments, and we want to get started at this point. Seriously, it's very nice just to gather and visit and talk, but we know that there are finite limits, so we're going to move along here with some acknowledgments in the program which you have before you. And before continuing with any kind of acknowledgments, we really need to pay tribute to the triumvirate that is the anniversary committee at First Lutheran Church. And I was going to ask these people to stand, but I think most of them are standing, so maybe you need to wave. Judy Driscoll. Wait, Judy Driscoll is where? There she is, okay. Apparently we can't hold our applause until the end. Hilder Gleason. Would you wave? Go ahead and wave, Hilder. It's okay, or not. And Mr. Robert Nichols. Needless to say, they put a considerable amount of work into not only this banquet, but also arranging programs that we've had during the Sunday school hours, to the displays that you have over here, and making all kinds of contacts and doing a lot of stuff that we probably just don't even know about, or shouldn't know about, but we do appreciate our committee. The anniversary committee has asked me to make some introductions and some connections with pastors and parish workers in the past, and so that is what I'm going to do. In keeping with trying to be brief, the committee impressed upon me that less is more. So I am to lift up one notable attribute per notable person. And that's not easy because attributes abound among those who have served us so well in the past. And in addition to that, there are complete biographies of the people that I'm talking about available in the library. 4 or 5 years ago, when I started to think about this day on the horizon, I really anticipated that we would have several pastors who have served us in the recent past, but that was not to be. First of all, Pastor Art Sortland, 1987 to 1999, shared with me that his health issues at this particular time precludes him from being here today, but I remain hopeful that before the end of the year, we will be able to have him on a Sunday to have some fellowship time with him. Hope to see him at that time. Pastor Pete Tengestal, who served here for about 20 years, beginning in 1967, passed away in 2007. Many of us could share our favorite Pastor Pete stories, but my favorite, as really pointed out by the family, is that Pastor Pete never gave a sermon without mentioning the word grace. Grace, great Lutheran word, well, actually it's a great biblical word, but it's part of our DNA, and Pastor Pete helped to lift that up here for 20 years in our midst. And Bishop Hofstede this morning in his message also lifted that up. So Pastor Pete left us a spiritual heritage, but he also left a family heritage in our midst. So Tricia Tengestal Siebert, would you please stand with members of your family who are present? Go ahead, stand. With members of your family? We were disappointed that Melba moved to the Midwest, but we're grateful that and she shares her greetings with us. And please extend our greetings as well. What? I'm sorry. I thought we were looking for another Tengestal. So anyway, Melba moved, but we're happy that we see her from time to time. Very thankful for that she comes back, and please greet her warmly for us. This past year, I corresponded with Pastor Otto Tollefson, who served here from 1977 to 85. Pastor Otto was very much looking forward to this day and being with us. Little did we know his cancer would return, and finally word came from him that emailed and said, "I'm just not going to make it," and I would have to greet you on his behalf, and so on Pastor Otto's behalf, I greet you as well. He passed away on Christmas Eve. Many of you remember Otto and Barbara and their family and their impact. I would like to lift up an impact on the larger world scene, and that's the Tollefson's time in Brazil from 1958 to 1977. Today we're pleased to have with us Barbara Tollefson and representing their kids, Adele. If Barbara and Adele could stand for us, please. Okay. Thank you very much. It's really special to see you here today. Pastor Carlstead served here from 51 to 55. And you know, speaking of pastors, prior to the 50s, we've had the likes of Pastor Allison, Pastor Kent, Pastor Don, Pastor Art, Pastor Pete, and Pastor Otto. I don't recall anybody ever mentioning or saying Pastor Alfred instead of Pastor Carlstead. Pastors in those days apparently really didn't have first names. Some of you have mentioned Pastor Florin and Pastor Heidi. I'm here to tell you that their names really were Lars and Fritschep. So they're Fritschep. Maybe that's why he went by Pastor. So you see, actually pastors have had first names all this time. But there must have been some rule against using them up until the 50s. But Pastor Carlstead was well known for his musical abilities, as was his family. We have a long history of pastors and music. And after leaving First Lutheran, the family became known as the Carlstead Family Singers. And they toured all over the U.S. with their music. It also just so happens that Hilda Gleason was a Carlstead family singer groupie. She traveled with them, at least one time cross-country with the family. I almost met Hilda and the family in 1961 at a Luther League convention in Miami Beach. But believe it or not, I was probably the only one at the convention who did not know Hilda. So I had to meet them later. But Pastor Carlstead's daughter traveled from Phoenix for this day. Janice Carlstead Folsom, would you please stand for us? And if you would greet your mom, Doris. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to reveal a secret. We need just a little drama. It may not be a well-kept secret, but it just seems appropriate on this day to be totally candid. Besides, a healthy church should have no unhealthy secrets. It was Pastor Carlstead who initiated the very first parish worker at First Lutheran, a job that's taken many different forms: church manager, church secretary, par excellence, office manager, and so forth. The secret is that the office manager or parish secretary enables the pastor to do his or her job, because without the office manager, the pastor would find it very difficult to do what he or she is supposed to do. We would be severely handicapped. Pastor Carlstead realized this, so he looked far and wide to find our first parish secretary, office manager, and so forth. And after an extensive search, even to the Midwest, he found Marion Wold, and she turned out to be perfect for the job. It was just a coincidence that she was Pastor Carlstead's niece. In all seriousness, in 1952, as a Lutheran Bible Institute graduate, a Waldorf College graduate, Marion Wold set the bar high at First Lutheran, and for that we remain grateful. So Marion and her husband, retired Lutheran chaplain Irving Noose, are here today from San Antonio. Can you believe that? So if you stand for us, please. And finally, a wonderful surprise for each of us who is enamored by church history, each of us who marvels at the pioneers who founded this church 125 years ago. Up to this point, we've lifted up individuals who are personally remembered by someone, at least. 11 men signed as new members in 1886. The women did all the organizing and raised the funds, but the men, we won't go there. The 11 were Pastor Nielsen, he had no name, first name, Mr. I.B. Mole, Ole Thorsen, Stenner Thorsen, Paul Woll, Niels Olsen, Johannes Olsen, Ole Aspeland, Jørgen Eliassen, Edvard Bjørnland, and A.B. Mole. Most of these folks had Norwegian heritage. And on that day, they were asked to contribute 25 cents each so that they could buy a proper book to record the minutes. And that's why we have these great records. And all of them made sacrifices for this church. And we're grateful to all of them. One of them, however, stands out, and that is Jørgen Eliassen, who contributed the land for both the church and the cemetery. He was also the first president of the congregation, and the church was named Fjordefjord after his home territory in Norway, Fjordefjord. I guess if you give the land, you can name the church. It was naming rights. Okay, naming rights. That just hit me. Mr. Eliassen donated the southwest corner of the northwest corner of his homestead for the church and cemetery. And as we look at the records, it didn't take the church long to accept the gift. I read this. The gift was noted, and then from the record this followed: the trustees are urged to get the land surveyed and cleared as soon as possible. Now this in itself is a great story, but the best part of the story is today we have Jørgen Eliassen with us, not just in spirit, but literally. We have a number of Jørgen Eliassen's direct descendants, and they have graciously joined us, including Jørgen Eliassen's great-great-great-grandson, Jørgen Eliassen, right at this table. Now, I'm sorry, Tony, that I've taken the best of the best part of the introduction, but I'm going to ask you to come forward and introduce the rest of the great-greats. Thank you.
I'm Tony Lynn Mandale Seaman, and I'm a great-great. And I have a brother, Joseph Mandale, who is a great-great-grandson. Next to him is David Eliassen. He's a great-great. I know, I've got it wrong. We're greats. We're not great-greats. He stole my great-great-great from me.
Well, you can introduce me.
Nah, he doesn't want to. Next, we're going to the great-great. That would be Eric. And then we have Charlotte, who is a great. And then her husband, Tony, who is just a husband. And then I have a husband too, Bill. He's back to just a husband.
Thank you very much. You truly are a great family, and you've helped make this day great for us too. Thank you very much.
Oh. I deserve that.